Grandpa, back in times, you had no computers. So how did you actually get on the internet? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a quote by my nephew. It was in 2010. He was 8 years old when we were sitting together with my father, and he asked him that. And I know it sounds very easy, but at the end, I really love this quote, because this quote symbolizes the situation we actually have. A generation that cannot imagine a world without computers. So the digital comes very natural to them, and more to all of us. And they will be the next collectors. I am art historian, and for me, art history means innovation. Why? Because it symbolizes the most innovative ideas and products that we have. Because art that is mentioned in history always reacted to new techniques and worldviews. Just think about the Renaissance, or the old painting, the beginning of the old painting, or the Impressionists, and of course the whole modern art. Now, our present age is the digitization, and currently we are surrounded by data, signals, and sensors that record, change, and save our lives. And this all leads to new direction in art, of course, and that is why we are here together today. So the next 30 minutes I will let you know and share my personal challenges and struggles, and also the introspections I made with promoting media art. So the challenges, how to promote media art. One thing I realized was the amount of festivals we had in earlier times. So since the mid of the 80s, there were several festivals. First of all, the Ars Electronica, die Internationalen Kurzfilmtage in Oberhausen, the Videonale in Bonn, or the European Media Festival, Art Festival in Osnabrück. Today there are much more festivals, of course, you know this, but also a lot of museums are open for media art now, and media art became part of the art market, with gallery programs dedicated just to media art. So the idea to create something for media art started in 2006 when Johannes Vogt, a friend of mine, and I founded an association called futuraart.com. The site is still online, it's a flash animated page. And the aim of this association was to make current artworks of the digital art field accessible to a broad public. So we thought about a biennial exhibition that should take place in various venues, first in Munich, because we lived in Munich. And the core focus lied on artworks that rise from genuinely art-related issues and that do not demonstrate new technologies as an end in itself. It was our intention to strengthen the awareness of art that was based on digital media. It was a very exciting time, and we were very convinced of this idea, of course, but with the wisdom of the hindsight, it was too early to realize it. First, we neither found any investor nor official or institutional support at that time. Then Johannes moved to New York for some PhD researches. He opened a gallery and never came back. And I was a single mother with my 2-year-old daughter in Munich, and of course I had to survive, so we cared about other things. 2013, the journey continued. So it started when some fair builders came to me and asked me if I could realize a contemporary art fair in Munich. And I said, yes, of course we could do it, but it doesn't make sense because there are so many art fairs all over the world and so many good ones, so why should we do this? And so I told them about digital art. Digital art for me means art that is made since the computers first were switched on. Art that reacts either with technology itself in terms of hardware or software, or indirect by dealing with the topics of new technology. So it could be, and we already have seen it, algorithm, plotter drawings, computer animations, photography as well, video, depends, net art, software art, smartphone art, sculptures, and so on. It's very manifold. So I told them about the situation we have in the art market with digital art, and that a niche fair for digital art could be a good idea, and they agreed. Then they asked me how we should call it. What is it after the description? Is it Unpainted or what is it? And then we already had the name. I loved it. So Unpainted was born. This time was the right time to do it because we had this fair builder and we had an investor. It was Benedikt Rodenstock and his wife in Munich. And so there were the best foundations for creating a new fair. I've never done an art fair before, Unpainted, but I can tell you one thing for sure, so doing an art fair is the most challenging thing I did in my life. Since my main research in university focused on the reception of art, I had two key questions for this fair. So, how does the global network affect the creation of and the reception of art? And how do artists react to the digitization of our world? So the most important thing for me was to show quality. Quality it's always the most important thing. This means the most challenging thing was the acquisition of galleries. There are only a handful of galleries that represent digital art only, and we have 2 of them here today. And there are some others that present digital art as part of the general gallery program. Another problem was that the galleries of today, of course, they are totally overloaded with fair invitations, and they hardly have to decide where to go. Furthermore, nobody knew us. And I also realized it's the same with artists that galleries not automatically want to be connected with the term of technology. So we had this here before, that media art or digital art, it's just art, it's contemporary art, but they don't want to have this separation from other things. So what to do, I thought. I created a commission with well-known personalities, friends and experts to create confidence in it and, of course, to secure quality. So I invited gallerists like Wolf Lieser, Anita Beckers, Rudiger Schöttle and Philipp Ries, media professor Jussi Angislever, museum director Thomas Trummer, and the Belgian collector Alain Servet. And I liked the differences of perception and approaches to media art they had. That is what I really like within this conference, so that we have different approaches to the subject, and that's very good. And we have been in regular exchange, and all of them have been important supporters of the fair from the beginning on. Then, of course, I was on the phone for many hours, for days. I was writing emails, I was traveling around and talked to preferred galleries impersonally. That's very important. In addition, I remembered the many festivals we had, and I thought about all those great artists without art market connection or without any gallery, especially in this field. So I had the idea that they may apply for a specially curated section where they can show themselves, and I called it Lab 3.0. For an art fair, it was new terrain, but I wanted to provide greater limelight for more and less unknown talents of media art, as well as give galleries the opportunity to discover new artists. And as curator, I invited multimedia artist Lee Sin-Hua. Meanwhile, he is curator for the video section in Art Basel, Hong Kong. At the end, after the jury session, we had round about 50 galleries institutions and artists that were shown at the first Unpainted Media Art Fair. I will give you some impressions where it looked like, because I guess it's also interesting to see how to install or how to show artworks within a fair or so this was the entrance. It took place in a former post building, so we had the ground floor was a circle, and we had the possibility to make a stage within the circle, then the galleries around, and in the outer circle there have been the artists. So there was a direct connection to the galleries. Here you can see it how it started out. This was the entrance. Here you can see Wolf in his booth with Casey Rees and some others, and with some collectors besides. So it was really a normal made art fair with walls and everything. We had the Bitforms gallery in Munich, and he showed, Steve Sachs showed David Quayola with these sculptures. We had Steve Turner from LA, and in the background you can see some lenticular paintings by Raphael Rosendahl. He also showed Peter Kortright. And here you already can see that the different mediums we have in this field, so it's very manifold, and that is something I wanted to show, that it's not only moving images, or some people think about video first, and it's so different. This is Louis Alexandre Gallery with a sculpture by Miguel Chevalier and Paul Hennessy in the background, here outside. Then we had institutions, the ZKM was there, and this was The View from Switzerland with Boris Petrovsky. XBO Gallery from Paris, he showed some installations by Adi Wagenknecht. And here, Galerie Heinz from Hamburg, tapestry. So a lot of people don't think about that it could be digital art and as well. And of course, we can fight: is it a digital art or is it not digital art? But it's the subject is digital art, and it's made on computer and printed out on tapestry. This is Galerie Chalot from Paris with a work by Sommerin Mignot, demonstrating at this time to a TV show or to TV reporters. And also Hermès, it was mentioned before, is supporting digital art very often. So this was a booth Hermès sponsored for an interactive art by Miguel Chevalier. And people really loved it. So if you have something where you can be interactive with it, people liked. Here, Li Senhua on stage. And he brought round about 7 artists from China to Europe. And it was interesting because of the artists, they really have to be self-managed, and they did it. So they found sponsors to come and to realize something. And Jill Tuffet from Paris, Arend Wevers, and here are some Mexican artists that came. But let's come back to the question how to promote media art to the public. So for a new art fair, and especially a niche art fair, it is important to educate. Wolf Lieser is an expert on the history of early computer art and until the present age. And so I asked him if he could realize a kind of a media art retrospective on a separations section. And this section was very, very important for us to explain where it started, and for the visitors as well to understand the big picture of media art. So the dialogue, what Steve mentioned before, is very important, not only to the collectors, but also to the public, to the visitors. So we also had many guided tours through the fair, and there was really a need for explanations. And now I realized that one of the most important aspects of our work was to make people understand the importance between media art and contemporary art. Therefore, we also had a lot of panel talks. For example, we were talking about bringing digital into the auction house. Here you can see the team of Pedals On. Maybe you heard about the auction of Pedals On. It was 2 or 3 years ago when Philips started together with Pedal 8 to realize an auction just with new media artists. So Raphael Rosendahl was part of it, Petra Kortright was part of it, Cory Archangel, I remember, and here you can see them on the stage. Then we were talking about challenges in collection new media with Alain Servet. He's an important collector from Belgium. Then with Hampus Lindwall from Paris, with Steve Sachs, David Quayola, and Wolf Lieser. And we recorded it as well. Another highlight was curated biop. I'm sure you heard about it. It's about bring your own beamer, an idea of a famous internet artist, Raphael Rosendahl, that brings together local artists that to project films and images onto the wall with their own projectors. And it's an idea he had by himself because he's an internet artist and he was programming so many times in front of his computer without seeing nobody. So we are living in a sharing culture and the idea to share content, to share art, to not to be alone in front of the computer was the result of this idea. And this was the realization we had. Then we also had concerts. Here you can see Camp or Inside from Hamburg. Maybe you know them. We had workshops. This is a workshop by Adi Hösle. It's called The Brain Painting. So visitors could sit down and put some cables on their head and really paint on the computer. And Adi Hösle, he did it with Gerhard Richter, for example, and other artists. And the result was really the own hand. How do you say, the picture of the artist or the people they really had. This is Chicks on Speed on stage. And this was an interactive dance performance. So there was one dancer once a day in front of these kind of software and moving images. And so it moves with your body. Summa summarum, it was a manifold organized fair. The international press coverage was strong, and many visitors have been thrilled what they could discover. So there haven't been any arguments against media art. I wouldn't say that. And some galleries really sold very well, some others less. And what I know is that wall pieces have been sold as good as moving images. That's interesting. So we made success, yes, but we made mistakes also, of course. It was the first Unpainted, and we co-founders, so all coming from the art world, wanted to do it perfect, with a perfect fair layout, with VIP relations, and everything as people are used from international art fairs, and what we thought is needed to promote or present media art. Because the most important thing for fair organizers is to have happy gallerists and happy visitors, of course. However, it was a very short time we did it. So I had half a year to organize or to create it without nothing. So there was nothing before, no website, no application forms. And we had a team to be found and built up. And at the end, of course, it was a great team, but we were totally understaffed anyway. There was no event manager, and the fair builder came with problems so we could not imagine before. Then the budget was calculated too small for everything, and the fair did not lead a financial success at the end. But also Rome was not built in a day, and for a startup, of course, it's normal that you have to invest before. The second edition was held this year in Munich as well, February 2016. And the concept this time was to realize an artist fair only. So we had an open call, and I invited American-based curator Nate Hitchcock to support the fair. And there have been so many fantastic applications, really. And at the end, we had round about 40 artists, and that came to show their works in supported fair stands, all self-organized and all self-managed. And that was the big difference to other fairs and to the last fair, that the artists this time could realize how hard it is to work as a gallerist. So standing in the booth the whole day and talking the whole day and to sell or try to sell artworks. And I would say there is no excuse to sell artworks. So why? It's normal. It gives you liberty, and of course all artists have to survive. So the art market is not a bad thing, I want to say. And yeah, this is American artists' work from New York. Here you can see Nate Hitchcock together with Nora Renaud. She's the wife of Miltos Manetas. And the interesting thing was that a lot of post-internet artists applied. So what you could see here are some tissue paintings, and Nora, she's always running around with her smartphone and with a pen, and she's drawing with a pen on the iPhone or the smartphone on Instagram pictures from herself and others, and then she is printing it out on this more traditional materials. And the idea is that people come and take photographs and post it back to the internet. So that what Christina also mentioned. And yeah, so the post-internet art, it was very present, and I asked them why you're doing this, and I had the impression that the wish to come back to material was very big, and there are so many discussions around post-internet art. So this is another view with digital paintings from Jennifer Mehan and Banz and Bohnwinkel. They, on the right-hand side, they are also on the program of Wolf Lieser. They are coming from the architectural field, and what you could see here is connected with an app. So if you are standing in front of the so-called paintings, you can bring the physical art forms in your app, and it can move and work in your smartphone. This was a sculpture with a digital light, with the newest technology we have. This is Greta Louvre. So she was thinking about what the cloud means. So is it really like a cloud with rain and the sun outside, or could it be something dangerous as well? And so she did a combination with videos and avatars and wall paintings as well. And we had Station Rose as well. They did a performance every day, and digital performance. And although also you did some tapestries to print out, to have something for the future, maybe. First, for the second edition, we tried to finance this with a crowdfunding campaign, but we failed. And but the costs we could reduce more than half of the first edition, even though the artists got supported fares. So that means that they did not have to pay for their booths. And but we also we did not send out VIP cards this time, and I realized that the art world is really used to get VIP cards and everything for free, and so this time they had to pay. That was a little bit different. So to come to the introspectives, here I want to quote a friend of mine, Alain Servet, blessed always with knowledge and dry humor. And he has a quote on his Twitter account, and he always says, there is one thing I know, is I don't know, and there's something. What I realized is that the credible and sustained model to promote media art is still the platform of a gallery. It's so important for artists to have a gallery because they have the know-how, and they have the experiences, and they have the contacts, and of course the collectors that buy art pieces. And galleries itself also need platforms, and that's why there are so many art fairs, and why we founded an art fair dedicated to digital art. So the need for an art fair is, I would say afterwards, courage, of course, ongoing showing quality, that is very important, a good network, art investors, continuation and persistence, and a good location to do it, whether in virtual or in real life, or maybe both. Maybe the combination of both is what we need. Because the art market is changing, and there are more and more media artists that are meanwhile part of the traditional art market. If you look at Cory Archangel, for example, Simon Denny, Mark Leckey, Jeremy Della, David Quayola, and so on, they are all part of the general art market, and it's not a question about fitting into the art market. It comes anyway. And what people always forget is the new generation that comes, and they automatically don't question the existence of digital or media-based art. And if you remember the quote at the beginning, so that is the answer for everything, for the next generation, so we should not forget it. So doing an art fair is good for media art, but if I do it again, I would do it different, and so that thoughts can change direction. So because of all introspections and all struggles and all challenges I made, I would say we have to rethink the art market, not least because media art of today is that people will remember in the future. Thank you.